Your father and mother are in critical condition. You need to cut your trip short and come home immediately, I pleaded desperately to Tyler. But Tyler's response was heartless. I'm on a trip with my colleagues. Handle it on your own. You're probably exaggerating anyway. I'm busy, so I'm going to hang up now. Later. Hold on a second. I tried to reach out to Tyler, but he hung up on me. 2 weeks later, Tyler came home without any remorse. I spoke up. Both their funerals are over. Tyler froze with a puzzled look on his face. What do you mean by both their funerals? Are you trying to play some sick joke on me? He asked frantically. It's not a joke. Didn't I call you 2 weeks ago to tell you that your father and mother were critically ill? I answered. But why so suddenly? Tyler was at a loss for words. My name is Jessica Atkins. I'm 56 years old and a full-time homemaker. I used to work in the administrative department of a major company. I left my job when I got married. I met my husband Tyler during college. When I became a college student, I joined the tennis club because a friend invited me. I had never played tennis before. I just wanted to have fun and make friends. But the reality was different. At that time, Tyler was the head of the tennis club. He was a strict guy aiming for national tournaments. For Tyler, it didn't matter whether you had experience or not. It was all about skill. Every day, Tyler would relentlessly serve the ball during practice. If you couldn't return it, he'd berate you. Being a novice, I couldn't even make contact with the ball using my racket. Tyler would scold me for it, saying, Jessica, are you kidding me? You're just in the way. Go pick up the balls or something, effectively kicking me off the tennis court. I felt so humiliated by Tyler's insults. I was always relegated to just picking up balls, barely ever holding a racket. Out of sheer frustration, I practiced my tennis swings and form even at home. Perhaps my hard work eventually paid off. One day, as usual, Tyler served the ball. But this time, I managed to powerfully return it. Tyler, seemingly expecting me to miss, stared in shock. But in the next moment, he exclaimed, Jessica, that was incredible, with the biggest smile on his face. It was in that instant that I unexpectedly fell head over heels for him. After that, Tyler continued to be strict, and I kept trying to keep up with his intense training regimen. One day, after some time had passed, we were out drinking with friends in our group. We had a get-together once a month to deepen our friendships outside of our group activities. On the way home from one of those gatherings, I happened to be alone with Tyler. Out of the blue, he confessed his feelings to me. I've fallen for you, Jessica. I want us to be together. I was taken aback. Tyler had never shown any signs of affection towards me. But I had feelings for him too. So I replied, I like you too. Let's give it a shot. That marked the beginning of our relationship. Tyler wanted to keep our relationship a secret from the club members so as not to affect team morale. Still, I was so in love with Tyler back then. I was just happy to be with him. We continued dating even after we both graduated from college, and we got married when I was 26. At Tyler's request, I left my job upon our marriage. I'll always be by Tyler's side from now on, I thought. Back then, I was head over heels, daydreaming about a dazzling future with Tyler. 30 years have passed since Tyler and I got married. In the early days, we went on frequent dates and were very close. But after 30 years, things had become somewhat routine. I stopped caring as much about my appearance as I used to. Back in my 20s, I wore trendy clothes and was pretty fashionable every time I went on a date with Tyler. I remember putting on a full face of makeup. But look at me now. So long as I'm dressed, I don't care much about coordinating outfits. I've grown to love loose skirts with stretchy elastic waists more than those with zippers. Now that I'm a stay-at-home wife, I rarely see other people, so I go barefaced from morning till night. I can't even recall the last time I wore makeup. Some might think I've let myself go. Compared to my 20s, my body has changed quite a bit. I was fairly slim back then, but not anymore. I've put on weight and now resemble the before pictures you see on weight loss shows. Maybe this change in appearance is one of the reasons our relationship has become routine. Gradually, I feel like Tyler's view of me has shifted from wife to mom, even though I'm not his mother. He occasionally jokes, Mom, can I have another coffee? By the way, my mother-in-law is still around and lives in an apartment about a 10-minute walk from our house with my father-in-law, so we live close by but separately. My in-laws are wonderful people and always show concern for me. Because they are so caring, I wanted to be there for them, so I visited them often. But lately, my in-laws' health has been declining. My father-in-law has been battling a serious illness, and the doctors say there's not much more they can do. Tearfully, my father-in-law told my mother-in-law and me, I want to spend my last days at home. So he was discharged from the hospital and is now receiving palliative care at home. Looking after my father-in-law on her own, my mother-in-law seems exhausted and her expression has darkened. Being a stay-at-home wife, I help with my father-in-law's care almost every day, but living with him must be tough for my mother-in-law. It's hard, Jessica. Just for one night, could you stay with us? She asked with a vulnerable expression. I'm sorry, Tyler comes home at night, I said. It hurt, but I had to turn my mother-in-law down. I see, my mother-in-law murmured with a look of despair. Every night I have to take care of Tyler. Tyler is quite the dominant husband and doesn't lift a finger to help around the house. He just throws his dirty socks anywhere. Of course, dinner has to be ready and warm by the time Tyler gets home. Leftovers are absolutely out of the question. If he finds out, there's no telling how much he'll lash out. Once, I couldn't get home in time for Tyler's return because I was taking care of my father-in-law. The moment I got home, Tyler, with a face as red as a beet, yelled at me, You should prioritize me over my dad. I'm your family, remember? I wanted to point out that my father-in-law is also his family, but I kept quiet because if I had argued, Tyler would have just shouted even louder. Because of things like this, I always have to prioritize Tyler. Every day feels so constricted. Being a stay-at-home wife, I feel guilty and can't stand up to Tyler. I couldn't help my downcast mother-in-law and could only look at her with concern. Lately, Tyler's been coming home late a lot and never lets me know. Sometimes, he even comes home on the last train. Today too, Tyler got home past midnight. I'm back, Tyler greeted me cheerfully. His face was red and he seemed a bit tipsy. Did you go out drinking again? You've been coming home late a lot lately, I said, holding the bag Tyler handed me. It's my money, and I'll spend it however I want. You're just a stay-at-home wife, so you should just obey me, Tyler retorted gruffly. But don't you think it's too frequent? Who are you going out with every time? Their families might be worried too, I hesitantly asked Tyler. Maybe Tyler's been forcing people to go drinking with him. Tyler's been with the company for a long time and holds a position of authority. It's hard for most to say no to someone like that. Tyler then replied with a smug smile, It's all good. I just always drink with the same coworker. Plus, they lives alone and is single. He's always happy when I buy him a drink, Tyler said smugly. I couldn't say anything back, being a stay-at-home wife without much say matters. Then I had an idea and decided to talk to Tyler about it. Could you let me know in advance when you're going to go out for drinks? Your mom seems really stressed out, and your dad's condition isn't great either. I'd like to be there for them as much as possible. But Tyler laughed off my concerns. No can do. When I go out depends on my mood. Besides, Mom will handle Dad's situation. Jessica, you should be all in for me. As I was taken aback by Tyler's harsh words, he said, Instead of standing there, get the bath ready. You're so slow with that. He quickly headed to the bathroom. Yes, I'm sorry. All I could do was respond like that. Then one day, Tyler suddenly told me, I'm going to go on a trip for 2 weeks from next week. While I stood there in shock, Tyler cheerfully flipped through a guidebook, pondering what he'd eat. He was planning to go to Australia. Regaining my composure, I asked Tyler, why the sudden international trip? What about your job? And I don't even have a passport. Tyler seemed a bit annoyed with my questions. I got a bonus, so I thought I'd just go for it. I've already requested PTO from work and I'm not going with you, Jessica, so you don't need a passport, right? Tyler answered nonchalantly. I hadn't even had a proper honeymoon since we got married. Who are you going with? I asked. Even for day trips, Tyler would say it's a waste of money and never took me along. Now, this sudden international trip seemed suspicious. I stared intently at Tyler. I'm going with a guy from work. Now get dinner ready already, Tyler retorted. I realized it would be challenging to press him further. Tyler probably wouldn't answer me if I continued to ask and might even snap at me. Though I felt frustrated, I reluctantly started preparing dinner. That day, Tyler left for his trip early in the morning. By noon, I found myself frantically calling Tyler. What do you want? I'm about to board a plane for an international trip. Read the room, Tyler snapped as soon as he answered. My in-laws are in critical condition. Please cancel your trip and come home immediately. I pleaded with Tyler desperately. If he hadn't boarded the plane yet, there was still time, or so I thought. But Tyler's response was cold. I'm on vacation with my colleague. Handle it yourself. You're probably exaggerating anyway. I'm busy. Going to hang up now. Bye. Wait a second. I tried to reach out, but he hung up. No matter how many times I called back, he didn't answer. You'll regret this, I whispered to myself. 2 weeks later, Tyler walked in cheerfully carrying a large suitcase. I'm back, he said. I approached the unapologetic Tyler and said, both their funerals are over. What? Tyler looked puzzled as if he didn't understand. What do you mean by both their funerals? Are you playing some kind of sick joke? Tyler, clearly panicking, questioned me. I sighed deeply at Tyler's flustered demeanor. It's no joke. Don't you remember I called you 2 weeks ago telling you your parents were critically ill? I replied. But why all of a sudden? Tyler trailed off, unable to find the words. I found myself sitting on the floor. When I went to visit your parents, they both had collapsed with pale faces. I called an ambulance in a panic, but the doctor said they were both in critical condition. Your dad needed care for a while now, and your mom had been looking unwell recently. Just a series of unfortunate events, I guess, I explained to Tyler with a detached tone. I'm truly heartbroken that my in-laws ended up like this. I was visiting them almost every day and still couldn't save them in time. To this day, I regret not going to their place sooner. But right now, I'm just so angry at you, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. They were your real parents, yet you chose yourself over them until the very end. No matter how much I pleaded, you always prioritized yourself. Remembering the tired look on your mother's face just makes me even angrier. Tyler, with a grim face, remained silent. He probably can't come to terms with reality. I decided to press Tyler further. It's your fault, isn't it? Choosing a trip with your colleague over your own parents. Did you enjoy your vacation? I asked with a sly smile, but Tyler just stayed silent, so I decided to prod a bit more. Well, I guess a trip with your lover is fun, right? 2 weeks seems a bit long though, I said. Tyler, as if resigning himself, began to talk. You knew. Yeah. I've been seeing Baker from work. She's over a decade younger than you, and she comforts me. It seemed Tyler was indeed cheating. His recent late nights were probably because of his affair with this Baker. As I stayed silent, Tyler, thinking I had accepted his confession, began to talk more. Baker is nothing like you. She has a slim figure, is beautiful, and she has a job. You're nothing compared to her, Tyler said, clearly proud of himself. Not caring at all, I responded nonchalantly. He seemed to forget he had asked me to become a stay-at-home wife after we got married. Then, as if he had an idea, Tyler made a suggestion. That's right. Now that my parents are gone and there's no one to oppose a divorce with you, and I can live here with Baker. So leave right now. I was flabbergasted by Tyler's words. Up to now, I've been a stay-at-home wife, always deferring to whatever Tyler said. I had no regular income of my own, and part of me lacked the confidence to move out and support myself. But after seeing Tyler prioritize a trip with his mistress over his critically ill parents, I didn't want to be with him anymore. Fine, I'll leave right now. Goodbye, and with that, I packed a minimum amount of stuff and left the house. A week later, I started staying at a budget motel. My husband Tyler called my cell. Hell, as soon as I picked up, Tyler jumped in. I can't find the checkbook at home. He sounded pretty panicked. However, I left all the statements under Tyler's name at the house. Of course, that includes the bank book where Tyler's salary gets deposited. The only checkbook I took is in my name. Did you check properly? As soon as I said that, Tyler shouted, It's the checkbook in your name. That account had a pretty good amount of money, right? It's a joint property, so half of it's mine, isn't it? After recklessly spending on trips and whatnot, I couldn't believe Tyler was now bringing up joint property. Holding back a heavy sigh, I calmly responded, The money in that checkbook is from gifts I received from my family and savings from when I was single, so it doesn't count as joint property, you know? Tyler, sounding frantic, replied, That's a problem. I nearly spent all of my last month's salary and bonus on the overseas trip. I thought I could cover the shortfall in our living expenses by withdrawing from your account. Up until now, I kept my checkbook in a drawer where Tyler could easily see it. I had no intention of hiding it from Tyler, so he must have sneaked a peek at the balance. I've moved out, Tyler, so I have no idea about your living expenses. Maybe ask for an advance on your paycheck. I firmly declined Tyler's request. Then I added, just to give Tyler a heads up. By the way, you might want to assume that there's hardly any inheritance from your parents. They were living on their pensions, and with the costs of your father's care, they were barely getting by. And you better clear out their rented apartment soon, or you'll be paying rent every month. My in-laws had been living in a rented apartment, barely making ends meet with the rent and the costs of caring for my father-in-law. My mother-in-law. Somehow, my mother-in-law managed to save and get by each month. I reckon she had her share of worries and stress. You're kidding. Tyler sounded shocked over the phone, so I decided to give Tyler the final blow. I have no responsibilities to help you out. You are on your own, I declared cheerfully. Why? Tyler's voice was full of disbelief. Tyler is already struggling with money and he's probably panicking. Moreover, he's lost my in-laws and has no one else to turn to. I've already lost my real parents. How can you be so heartless? Are you some kind of monster? Tyler cried out, venting his frustrations at me. Despite having kicked me out with no income, he seemed to have forgotten that. I have no sympathy for Tyler, who's lost so much. It's all Tyler's fault, so I laughed and replied, well, you cheated. Don't expect me to help you out after what you have done. Hearing the word cheated, Tyler flinched. I don't want to ask the company for help. If the company finds out about Baker and me, it'll be a disaster. Tyler's voice was shaky, but it was not my concern. I don't even know the face of Baker. It's you and Baker who did wrong in the first place, right? I challenged Tyler. I hope they both lose their social credibility. I've got nothing left to lose. Whatever happens to them, it's none of my business. It's all my fault. Just help me out this time, please, Tyler pleaded with a voice full of desperation. No way. You're going to regret this big time. I told him that and ended the call with Tyler. Tyler and I eventually got divorced. At first, Tyler was reluctant to agree to the divorce, mainly because of the financial issue, but in the end, he was persuaded by the lawyer I hired and signed the divorce papers. Tyler always acted arrogant in front of me and my in-laws but was very submissive in front of others. He's the kind who's all bark and no bite. That's probably why Tyler couldn't stand up to a professional like the lawyer and ended up being told what to do. Our properties will be split equally, all thanks to my lawyer. Tyler had almost exhausted his savings on a trip abroad with Baker, so he was tight on cash. My lawyer guessed that Tyler would be very uncooperative, but in the end, I was pleased with the situation. Now, about what happened afterward, it seems Tyler is living paycheck to paycheck, having difficulty supporting himself. On top of that, he had additional expenses like cleaning out and paying rent for the rental apartment of my in-laws, and apparently, he got dumped by Baker. Initially, Baker was very ambitious and got close to Tyler for her own career advancement. After our divorce, the affair was exposed, and Tyler got demoted. It seems Baker got transferred to a remote branch. If Director Atkins is getting demoted, I don't need him anymore. Thanks for everything, that's what was said. And Tyler got dumped. Though Tyler got demoted, he didn't get transferred within the company, so he seems to be feeling out of place and uncomfortable now. Being dumped by Baker and all alone, Tyler has contacted me through my lawyer. I messed up. I broke up with Baker, so I wanted a shot with you. That's what I heard through the attorney. Since I've already blocked Tyler's calls, it seems like his only option is to relay messages through the lawyer. Knowing Tyler's usually timid nature, the fact that he's pleading with a lawyer like this tells me he's really backed into a corner. On top of that, he's been saying things like, I'm seriously out of money right now. Can you lend me some from your savings back when you were single? Making demands that don't benefit me in the slightest. Even the attorney seemed taken aback by this and related it to me with a chuckle. I guess Tyler's going to have a tough life from here on out. Frankly, I hope he continues to struggle and squirm. By the way, I got in touch with Baker through the lawyer, and she responded in a very respectful way. I was told through the lawyer that she said, when I was with Mr. Tyler, my expenses were quite low, so I had fun with his money. But it did not last long. Please tell her I deeply regret everything. It seems she was never really interested in Tyler, just his position. Tyler was head over heels for Baker, and to see him ruin his life over it is quite pitiful. Thinking of Tyler's misfortune made me smirk. Since then, I've decided to get back to work. Would you believe it? I took a part-time job at a convenience store. It's my first time in customer service, but it's surprisingly fun. I was initially worried about being on my feet all day, but once I started, time just flies and it's a blast. Beyond working the register, there's ordering products, frying snacks, and a lot more to convenience store work. I even get to use my housekeeping skills with the cleaning tasks. I've heard from the manager that if I work hard, I could become a permanent employee. Apparently, there have been others like me who made the transition. Being in my 50s is like being at the halfway point in life. Being divorced, I initially thought my future was bleak, but even at this age, I'm discovering new things and having a ball. I want to keep looking forward and keep on moving. That's how I feel right now.